After Roosevelt's death, Vice President Harry Truman took office. Due to the looming threat of another recession following the end of World War II, Truman put the Full Employment Act of 1946 into action, which put economic advisors in the White House and announced the full employment goal. This left the government at a loss for extra spending for welfare policies. While the past lack of spending prevented gains to social policies, the current insurgence of spending created such a rich economy that no one saw the needs for any new policies, except for the black population living under Jim Crow laws. Minorities and 90% of the 4.5 million African American migrants of the time were forced into cities, segregated by Jim Crow laws, and forced to live in an impoverished state. Some people did receive Social Security benefits, although these were more than lacking. The lack of health care insurance resulted in a lack of access to proper medical treatment and family planning. Not only these things, but women's jobs were being terminated because men were coming back from World War II. At this time, there were also barely any services provided to those who were mentally or physically disabled or too elderly to pay their own bills. John Kennedy was elected president in the 1960s. During this time, people were finally starting to acknowledge the poor, and Martin Luther King Jr. began his protest of challenging segregation. The murder of Emmett Till brought the struggles of African Americans to the masses when his body was put on display at his funeral. After Kennedy's death, Johnson took office. Johnson was loyal to Kennedy's reform plan and did things such as passing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which desegregated schools and other public facilities. The food stamps program was put into place around 1964, allowing some families on welfare access to cheaper food. In 1965, Medicaid programs were put into the Social Security Act. Although not perfect, providing Medicare gave access to medical facilities and resources that the poor once could not access. While many social policies were being enacted, there were still just as many social inequalities in society at the time. Women who had previously started working during World War II were now being shamed for it. Media stated that working harmed family life and destroyed femininity. Gay men and lesbians fought blatant harassment and discrimination, and they were even subject to arrest by police. Many other minorities were subject to live in city ghettos where access to good education and jobs was scarce. The Great Society resulted in three main additions to social welfare in America: civil rights movements, federal-funded programs, and Medicare/Medicaid.